Title: The Vanishing of Jay Slater. It started with a voice. A crackling, broken voice half swallowed by static, replayed obsessively in the headphones of private investigator Marcus Vale. For 3 days and nights, he had sat in a nondescript hotel room on the coast of Tenerife, replaying the audio on a loop, analyzing each syllable like a codebreaker in wartime. Help. Not where I was. Someone's here. Then the line cut. Jay Slater had vanished 10 days earlier, a 19-year-old British tourist on his first solo holiday with friends. The headlines had exploded across the UK tabloids. British teen vanishes in Canary Islands. First came sympathy, then the typical internet firestorm of speculation, accusations, and wild theories. But none had answers. Only Marcus believed he had something real. He found the voicemail by accident or fate. Jay's mother, desperate for answers and disillusioned with the slow pace of the Spanish police, had hired Marcus on a whisper of recommendation. She handed him her son's unlocked phone with trembling hands and said only, "Please, just find my boy." Most of the messages were mundane. Group chats with friends, party photos, a few voice notes. But one stood out. It had come in 2 hours after Jay was last seen, timestamped at 4:17 a.m. It had never been opened. Marcus listened. Over and over. He enhanced it, filtered out the background noise, and tried to isolate keywords. But the voice was urgent, distressed, and oddly out of breath. It sounded like Jay, but something was off. There was fear there, but also confusion. He took the audio to the Guardia Civil, eager to hand over what he believed was a critical clue. They nodded politely, took his statement, and made no promises. But days later, when he followed up, the response chilled him. "There is no such voicemail on record," the officer told him flatly. "Please subscribe to my YouTube channel." Marcus protested. Showed them the file again. Their expression didn't change. The phone was reviewed. Nothing was found. Perhaps you imagined it. Imagined it? He left furious, the small hard drive still in his pocket. The Slater family had already suspected indifference from the Spanish authorities, but now Marcus was certain someone wanted this buried. He turned to the landscape. Jay had disappeared near the Masca Valley, a gorgeously rugged stretch of cliffs, cacti, and narrow goat trails carved into volcanic rock. The area was unforgiving, especially to someone unfamiliar with its labyrinthine paths. Witnesses had placed Jay there, following 2 local men he had met at a beach bar the previous evening. They claimed he left their car early in the morning to walk back alone. Why? Why would an exhausted teenager, unfamiliar with the terrain and dressed only in light clothing, wander off into the wilderness? Unless he was running from something. Marcus started asking questions in the village. Locals were reluctant to speak. Some said the 2 men Jay was last seen with were known for illegal dealings, trafficking, smuggling, sometimes worse. But without hard evidence, the police dismissed it as gossip. Then came the break. An old man at a rural cafe leaned toward Marcus and said, "You are not the first to look for something in Masca. Others have vanished too. Sometimes they reappear. Most don't." He slid a napkin across the table. On it, a crude map. A trail not on any tourist guide, winding through the cliffs to a long-abandoned hunting cabin. "It's not watched. You want answers? Go there at night." Marcus didn't hesitate. The hike was grueling. Winds howled between the rocks like whispering ghosts, and the moonlight turned the valley into a surreal dreamscape of shadows and silver. He reached the cabin at midnight, an ugly squat structure half swallowed by vegetation. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. The door creaked open. Inside, it was empty except for a few beer cans, a worn mattress, and a broken radio. But something strange caught his eye, an engraving scratched into the wall. J.S. was here. 3:42. His heart thudded. It matched the timeline. Then he heard the noise. Not from the cabin, but the trees. A crunch, faint but deliberate. Someone else was there. He killed the light and dropped to the floor, heart hammering. Shadows moved just outside the window. And then, silence. Whoever it was left quickly, not noticing Marcus inside. He waited an hour before daring to move, then slipped away before dawn. Back at the hotel, he dug deeper into the audio. The voice said more than he had realized. Not just someone's here, but also, unmistakably, they know. They know. He played it again, his stomach turning. If Jay had stumbled on something, if he had witnessed a drug deal, or a smuggling drop, or worse, it would explain everything. Why he ran. Why he called for help. Why he vanished. Why police were so disinterested. He took the file to the British consulate. They were more receptive, but cautious. The representative listened grimly, promised to review and escalate, and advised Marcus to return to England. But he wouldn't leave. Not yet. Instead, he went back to the area one last time, joined by a local journalist named Ines, who had taken an interest in the case. Together, they followed the path toward a new location Marcus had identified using satellite data, a small cave hidden behind a cluster of rocks. Inside, they found discarded clothing. A shoe, a phone battery matching Jay's model, and a photo, half-burned. Jay, smiling, with one of the local men from the beach bar. The background was that same cave. Ines took photos, uploaded them immediately to cloud storage, and sent them to her newsroom. She turned to Marcus. "We're blowing this wide open." But just as they stepped outside, headlights pierced the night. 2 vehicles. Dark. Unmarked. Men stepped out, blocking the path. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. "Please subscribe to my YouTube channel." Ines held up her phone, her voice steady. "These files are backed up. If we go missing, they go live." A long silence. Then the men backed away. No words, no threats. Just a retreat into the night, leaving only the sound of tires crunching gravel. They had made their point. Marcus left the island the next morning, the audio still in his pocket and the fire of truth burning in his chest. Ines published her story 2 days later. The Spanish police denied everything, but pressure mounted. The British public demanded action. The case reopened. Search teams combed the area again with renewed focus. Jay's mother flew back in. She held Marcus's hand as she listened to the voicemail. Her tears came in silence. Weeks later, a breakthrough. A shallow grave near the Masca Valley revealed human remains, clothing fragments matching Jay's last outfit, and a second phone, unregistered, containing a single image of Jay bound and terrified. The voice on the audio hadn't been just a plea. It had been a warning. The 2 men from the beach bar were arrested. Under pressure, one confessed, Jay had seen too much. Panicked, they had taken him to cool off, but things escalated. His death had not been intentional, they claimed. The Spanish police faced investigation. The UK press hailed Marcus as a hero, but he declined interviews. He returned to his quiet London office and filed the case away under closed, but never forgotten. In his drawer, he kept a copy of the audio file. Not as evidence, but as a reminder. Every voice matters, especially the ones no one wants to hear. Subscribe the channel to get such videos.